Let's get ready for the Maryland Real Estate Exam with 100 questions covering key state laws, principles, and practices you'll need to know. And keep an eye on the bottom corner. There's something there that could make a big difference in your prep. We'll tell you how to use it in just a minute. Now, let's get started.
Let's start with a quick review of licensing requirements and procedures. Maryland licensing requirements and procedures. What is the minimum age requirement to obtain a real estate salesperson license in Maryland? Is it A, 16 years old, B, 21 years old, C, 18 years old, or D, 17 years old? The answer is C, 18 years old. In Maryland, an individual must be at least 18 years old to qualify for a real estate salesperson license. This requirement ensures that applicants have reached the age of majority, allowing them to enter legally binding contracts. How many hours of pre-licensing education are required for a real estate salesperson in Maryland? Is it A, 60 hours, B, 75 hours, C, 40 hours, or D, 80 hours? The answer is A, 60 hours. Maryland mandates that real estate salesperson applicants complete 60 hours of pre-licensing education. This curriculum covers essential real estate principles and practices to prepare candidates for the licensing exam.
Have you noticed the code in the bottom corner? Next time you're stumped, take that code to birdsey.ai for immediate help and a free study session with Birdsey, your personal AI study partner. Plus, you'll get access to hundreds of additional questions, helping you move closer to passing your exam with confidence. The next time you're feeling unsure or stuck, give it a try.
Which exam must be passed to obtain a real estate salesperson license in Maryland? Is it A, National Real Estate Exam, B, Maryland Real Estate Salesperson Licensing Exam, C, Maryland Real Estate Broker Exam, or D, Maryland Property Management Exam? The answer is B, Maryland Real Estate Salesperson Licensing Exam. To become a licensed real estate salesperson in Maryland, applicants must pass the Maryland Real Estate Salesperson Licensing Exam. This exam tests knowledge of state-specific real estate laws and practices. What is a requirement for maintaining an active real estate license in Maryland? Is it A, paying a monthly fee, B, submitting annual sales reports, C, passing a biannual exam, or D, completing continuing education courses? The answer is D, completing continuing education courses. Maryland requires real estate licensees to complete continuing education courses to maintain an active license. This ensures that licensees stay updated on current laws and practices in the real estate industry. Continuing education requirements. What is the minimum number of continuing education hours required for a real estate license renewal in Maryland? Is it A, 10 hours, B, 15 hours, C, 20 hours, or D, 25 hours? The answer is B, 15 hours. In Maryland, real estate licensees must complete at least 15 hours of continuing education every 2 years to renew their license. This ensures they remain informed about industry changes and regulations. Which of the following topics must be included in the continuing education curriculum for Maryland real estate licensees? Is it A, legislative updates, B, marketing strategies, C, advanced negotiation skills, or D, real estate photography? The answer is A, legislative updates. Maryland real estate licensees are required to take a course on legislative updates as part of their continuing education to stay informed about new laws affecting the industry. How often must Maryland real estate licensees complete their continuing education requirements? Is it A, annually, B, every 3 years, C, every 2 years, or D, every 5 years? The answer is C, every 2 years. Maryland real estate licensees must complete their continuing education requirements every 2 years to maintain their active license status, ensuring they stay up to date with industry standards. Which of the following is a consequence of failing to meet continuing education requirements in Maryland? Is it A, a fine of $500, B, mandatory additional training, C, a written warning, or D, inability to renew the license? The answer is D, inability to renew the license. Failure to meet continuing education requirements results in the inability to renew a real estate license in Maryland, effectively suspending the licensee's ability to practice. Maryland-specific exam structure and content. What is the minimum passing score required for the Maryland real estate licensing exam? Is it A, 65%, B, 75%, C, 70%, or D, 80%? The answer is C, 70%. The Maryland real estate licensing exam requires a minimum passing score of 70% to ensure that candidates have a sufficient understanding of real estate principles and state-specific regulations. How many questions are typically included in the Maryland-specific portion of the real estate licensing exam? Is it A, 30, B, 50, C, 40, or D, 25? The answer is A, 30. The Maryland-specific portion of the real estate exam typically includes 30 questions, focusing on state laws and regulations relevant to real estate practice. Which of the following topics is emphasized in the Maryland-specific real estate exam content? Is it A, federal housing laws, B, state real estate laws, C, international real estate practices, or D, global market trends? The answer is B, state real estate laws. The Maryland-specific exam emphasizes topics like state real estate laws, regulations, and practices to ensure compliance with local requirements. What is the time limit for completing the Maryland-specific portion of the real estate licensing exam? Is it A, 60 minutes, B, 120 minutes, C, 75 minutes, or D, 90 minutes? The answer is D, 90 minutes. The Maryland-specific portion of the real estate licensing exam must be completed within 90 minutes, allowing candidates ample time to demonstrate their knowledge of state-specific content. Maryland real estate laws and regulations. Maryland-specific fair housing laws. What is a protected class under Maryland's fair housing laws? Is it A, occupation, B, sexual orientation, C, height, or D, marital status? The answer is B, sexual orientation. Maryland's fair housing laws include sexual orientation as a protected class, alongside others like race, gender, and religion. This means housing discrimination based on sexual orientation is prohibited. Which agency enforces fair housing laws in Maryland? Is it A, Maryland Department of Transportation, B, Maryland Housing Authority, C, Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, or D, Maryland Real Estate Commission? The answer is C, Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. The Maryland Commission on Civil Rights is responsible for enforcing fair housing laws, ensuring compliance, and addressing discrimination complaints within the state. In Maryland, which of the following is not a legal reason to refuse a rental application? Is it A, familial status, B, credit history, C, criminal record, or D, insufficient income? The answer is A, familial status. Refusing a rental application based on familial status is illegal under Maryland's fair housing laws, which protect families with children from discrimination. What is the statute of limitations for filing a fair housing complaint in Maryland? Is it A, 30 days, B, 6 months, C, 2 years, or D, 1 year? The answer is D, 1 year. In Maryland, individuals have 1 year from the date of the alleged discriminatory act to file a fair housing complaint with the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. How does Maryland's fair housing law differ from federal law regarding protected classes? Is it A, it does not include race as a protected class? B, it includes sexual orientation as a protected class? C, it excludes disability as a protected class? Or D, it only applies to rental properties? The answer is B, it includes sexual orientation as a protected class. Maryland's fair housing law includes additional protected classes such as sexual orientation and gender identity, which are not explicitly covered under federal law. Which of the following is considered a discriminatory practice under Maryland's fair housing laws? Is it A, offering different terms to different tenants? B, charging a security deposit? C, publishing a rental ad that specifies a preference for a certain religion? Or D, enforcing a no pets policy? The answer is C, publishing a rental ad that specifies a preference for a certain religion. Maryland's fair housing laws prohibit discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, national origin, disability, and other protected classes. Discrimination in advertising is explicitly forbidden.
If you're finding this helpful, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, useful tips, and complimentary study sessions with Birdsey.
Maryland's specific contract requirements. What is the maximum period allowed for a buyer to review a resale disclosure package in Maryland? Is it A, 3 days, B, 5 days, C, days, or D, 10 days? The answer is C, days. In Maryland, a buyer has 7 days to review a resale disclosure package after receiving it. This period allows the buyer to assess important documents related to the property before finalizing the purchase. Which of the following is a mandatory disclosure in Maryland real estate contracts? Is it A, residential property disclosure and disclaimer statement? B, lead paint inspection report? C, radon inspection report? Or D, homeowners association bylaws? The answer is A, residential property disclosure and disclaimer statement. The Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement is mandatory. It informs buyers about the condition of the property and any known defects, helping them make an informed decision. In Maryland, what is the purpose of the time is of the essence clause in real estate contracts? Is it A, to allow flexibility in meeting deadlines? B, to enforce strict adherence to deadlines? C, to permit extensions without penalties? Or D, to prioritize financial obligations over other terms? The answer is B, to enforce strict adherence to deadlines. The time is of the essence clause signifies that all deadlines in the contract are strict and must be adhered to, ensuring timely execution of the contract terms. What is the legal requirement for earnest money deposits in Maryland real estate transactions? Is it A, within 24 hours of contract signing? B, within 3 business days of contract signing? C, within 5 business days of contract signing? Or D, within 7 business days of contract signing? The answer is D, within 7 business days of contract signing. Earnest money must be deposited in an escrow account within 7 business days after the contract is fully executed, ensuring funds are securely held until closing or contract termination. Which document must be provided to a buyer in Maryland if the property is subject to a ground rent? Is it A, property tax assessment notice? B, home inspection report? C, HOA rules and regulations? Or D, ground rent disclosure notice? The answer is D, ground rent disclosure notice. The ground rent disclosure notice informs buyers of their obligation to pay ground rent. It includes important details about the terms, ensuring buyers understand this financial responsibility. In Maryland, which party is responsible for ensuring the contract includes a lead-based paint disclosure for properties built before 1978? Is it A, the buyer, B, the real estate agent, C, the seller, or D, the home inspector? The answer is C, the seller. In Maryland, the seller is responsible for providing the lead-based paint disclosure to the buyer for properties built before 1978. This is to inform buyers of potential lead-based paint hazards. Overview of Maryland real estate statutes. What is the primary purpose of the Maryland Real Estate Commission? Is it A, to increase property taxes, B, to regulate and license real estate professionals, C, to set housing prices, or D, to manage real estate transactions? The answer is B, to regulate and license real estate professionals. The Maryland Real Estate Commission is responsible for licensing real estate professionals, ensuring compliance with real estate laws, and protecting the public interest by regulating the practice of real estate. Which of the following is a requirement for obtaining a real estate license in Maryland? Is it A, owning a property in Maryland, B, having a degree in real estate, C, completing pre-licensing education, or D, providing a business plan? The answer is C, completing pre-licensing education. To obtain a real estate license in Maryland, applicants must complete pre-licensing education, pass the licensing exam, and submit a background check. Continuing education is required for license renewal. What is the minimum age requirement to apply for a real estate salesperson license in Maryland? Is it A, 18 years old, B, 21 years old, C, 25 years old, or D, 16 years old? The answer is A, 18 years old. In Maryland, individuals must be at least 18 years old to apply for a real estate salesperson license. This age requirement ensures applicants have reached legal adulthood. Which entity is responsible for enforcing real estate laws in Maryland? Is it A, Maryland Department of Housing, B, Maryland State Police, C, Maryland Attorney General's Office, or D, Maryland Real Estate Commission? The answer is D, Maryland Real Estate Commission. The Maryland Real Estate Commission, part of the Department of Labor, Licensing and Regulation, enforces real estate laws and regulations to ensure industry standards and consumer protection.
Stuck on a question? Just think of the Birdsey link in the description as your friendly neighborhood superhero, swooping in to save the day with answers. Feel free to explore it now and return to continue. Simply hit pause, and we'll be waiting when you get back.
Maryland property ownership and land use. Types of property ownership, e.g. fee simple, leasehold, joint tenancy. Which of the following describes a fee simple estate in Maryland property law? Is it A, the most complete form of ownership with the greatest control over the property, B, a temporary right to use the property for a specific period, C, ownership shared equally among multiple parties, or D, ownership that reverts to the original owner after a period? The answer is A, the most complete form of ownership with the greatest control over the property. A fee simple estate is the most complete form of ownership, providing the holder with the greatest control over the property, including the ability to sell, lease, or bequeath it. What is a key feature of joint tenancy in Maryland? Is it A, it allows owners to divide their shares unequally, B, it includes the right of survivorship, bypassing probate, C, it automatically converts to tenancy in common upon an owner's death, or D, it is limited to family members only? The answer is B, It includes the right of survivorship, bypassing probate. Joint tenancy includes the right of survivorship, meaning if one owner dies, their share automatically passes to the surviving owners, bypassing probate. In Maryland, what distinguishes a leasehold estate from other types of property ownership? Is it A, the lessee has full ownership rights? B, the lessee can sell the property? C, the lessee has temporary rights to use the property? Or D, the lessee inherits the property upon the owner's death? The answer is C, the lessee has temporary rights to use the property. A leasehold estate grants the lessee temporary rights to occupy or use the property, typically for a specified term, without owning the property outright. How does tenancy in common differ from joint tenancy in Maryland? Is it A, it requires all owners to have equal shares? B, it automatically includes the right of survivorship? C, it restricts transferability of shares? Or D, it allows unequal shares that are inheritable? The answer is D, it allows unequal shares that are inheritable. In tenancy in common, co-owners have distinct proportional shares that can be unequal and are inheritable, unlike joint tenancy, which includes the right of survivorship. Public versus private land use controls. Which of the following is a primary function of zoning laws in Maryland? Is it A, regulate land use to separate different types of activities? B, determine property tax rates? C, establish environmental protection standards? Or D, regulate the sale of real estate? The answer is A, regulate land use to separate different types of activities. Zoning laws in Maryland primarily regulate land use to ensure orderly development and separate incompatible land uses, such as residential and industrial areas, to promote public welfare. What is a key difference between public and private land use controls in Maryland? Is it A, public controls are voluntary, private controls are mandatory? B, private controls are subject to government approval? C, public controls are imposed by government, private by property owners? Or D, private controls are more comprehensive than public controls? The answer is C, public controls are imposed by government, private by property owners. Public land use controls are established by government entities like zoning ordinances, while private controls are typically set by property owners through covenants or deed restrictions. What is a restrictive covenant in the context of Maryland real estate? Is it A, a government-imposed zoning restriction? B, a private agreement limiting property use? C, a public easement for utility access? Or D, a legal requirement for environmental conservation? The answer is B, a private agreement limiting property use. Restrictive covenants are private agreements that dictate certain uses or restrictions on a property, often used in subdivisions to maintain a uniform appearance or use. How does Maryland law typically handle non-conforming uses in zoning? Is it A, they must be immediately terminated? B, they are allowed to expand freely? C, they require rezoning to continue? Or D, they can continue but not expand? The answer is D, they can continue but not expand. Non-conforming uses existing before new zoning laws are usually allowed to continue but cannot be expanded or rebuilt if destroyed, maintaining legal continuity without encouraging expansion. Land use and zoning laws. What is the primary purpose of zoning laws in Maryland? Is it A, to increase property taxes? B, to regulate land use and promote orderly development? C, to establish building codes? Or D, to enhance public transportation? The answer is B, to regulate land use and promote orderly development. Zoning laws in Maryland are designed to segregate land uses to promote orderly development and prevent conflicts between incompatible uses, such as industrial and residential areas. Which entity typically enforces zoning regulations in Maryland? Is it A, local government, B, state government, C, federal government, or D, homeowners associations? The answer is A, local government. Local governments, such as city or county authorities, are responsible for enforcing zoning regulations, ensuring compliance with local development plans. In Maryland, what is a variance in the context of zoning? Is it A, a change in zoning classification, B, a temporary permit for land use, C, an exception to zoning requirements, or D, a penalty for zoning violations? The answer is C, an exception to zoning requirements. A variance is a waiver granted by local zoning authorities allowing a property to be used in a manner not typically permitted under the current zoning ordinance. What is a nonconforming use in Maryland zoning law? Is it A, a use that violates current zoning laws, B, a newly established use under current zoning, C, a temporary use permitted by a variance, or D, a previously legal use not conforming to current laws? The answer is D, a previously legal use not conforming to current laws. A nonconforming use refers to a property use that was legally established under previous zoning laws but does not comply with current zoning regulations. Condominiums and HOAs. What is the primary purpose of a condominium association in Maryland? Is it A, to sell individual units, B, to provide legal advice to residents, C, to manage common areas and enforce rules, or D, to construct new buildings? The answer is C, to manage common areas and enforce rules. A condominium association manages common areas and enforces rules to maintain property values. It collects fees for maintenance and ensures compliance with community guidelines. Which document outlines the rights and responsibilities of HOA members in Maryland? Is it A, the Articles of Incorporation, B, the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, CC&Rs, C, the bylaws, or D, the operating budget? The answer is B, the Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, CC&Rs. The Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions, CC&Rs, is the key document detailing the rights and obligations of HOA members, including use restrictions and maintenance responsibilities. In Maryland, what is required for a condominium association to amend its bylaws? Is it A, a supermajority vote of unit owners, B, approval from the local government, C, a simple majority vote of board members, or D, unanimous consent of all unit owners? The answer is A, a supermajority vote of unit owners. Amending bylaws typically requires a supermajority vote of the unit owners, which ensures that significant changes have broad support among the community members. What is the role of a property management company in a Maryland HOA? Is it A, to make decisions on behalf of the board, B, to represent homeowners in legal disputes, C, to sell properties within the community, or D, to manage daily operations and enforce rules? The answer is D, to manage daily operations and enforce rules. A property management company handles day-to-day operations such as maintenance, financial management, and enforcement of rules, allowing the HOA board to focus on governance.
Don't forget to comment below with your tips, challenges, and thoughts on exam preparation. Your experiences can make a big difference for others.
Environmental issues and Chesapeake Bay management. Which act regulates land use to protect the Chesapeake Bay's water quality in Maryland? Is it A, Chesapeake Bay Critical Area Act, B, Clean Water Act, C, Endangered Species Act, or D, Coastal Zone Management Act? The answer is A, Chesapeake Bay Critical Area Act. The Chesapeake Bay Critical Area Act establishes land use regulations to protect water quality and wildlife habitats in the Chesapeake Bay, balancing development with environmental conservation. What is the purpose of Maryland's Forest Conservation Act? Is it A, to increase timber production, B, to minimize forest loss during development, C, to regulate hunting in forested areas, or D, to promote urban development? The answer is B, to minimize forest loss during development. The Forest Conservation Act aims to minimize the loss of forested areas during land development, promoting sustainable land use and environmental conservation in Maryland. How does Maryland's Smart Growth Initiative impact land use? Is it A, by encouraging suburban sprawl, B, by increasing farmland development, C, by directing development to existing communities, or D, by promoting industrial expansion? The answer is C, by directing development to existing communities. Maryland's Smart Growth Initiative directs development towards existing communities, preserving open space and reducing environmental impact, thereby encouraging sustainable growth and efficient land use. What is the role of the Chesapeake Bay program in environmental management? Is it A, to regulate fishing quotas, B, to manage coastal erosion, C, to fund agricultural subsidies, or D, to restore and protect the bay's ecosystem? The answer is D, to restore and protect the bay's ecosystem. The Chesapeake Bay program is a regional partnership that leads efforts to restore and protect the Chesapeake Bay, focusing on water quality, habitat restoration, and community engagement. Maryland Agency Law and Ethics. Agency relationship laws. What is the primary duty of a real estate agent under Maryland agency law? Is it A, to act in the best interest of their client, B, to prioritize the sale of a property, C, to maximize their commission, or D, to follow the instructions of any potential buyer? The answer is A, to act in the best interest of their client. Under Maryland agency law, the primary duty of a real estate agent is to act in the best interest of their client, ensuring loyalty and confidentiality throughout the transaction process. Which of the following is a requirement for a dual agency relationship in Maryland? Is it A, verbal agreement from both parties, B, approval from the Maryland Real Estate Commission, C, written consent from both parties, or D, notification to the local real estate board? The answer is C, written consent from both parties. In Maryland, dual agency requires written consent from both parties involved in the transaction, ensuring that both the buyer and seller understand and agree to the arrangement. What is the role of a subagent in a Maryland real estate transaction? Is it A, to represent the buyer exclusively, B, to represent the seller under the listing broker, C, to act as a neutral party in the transaction, or D, to manage the closing process? The answer is B, to represent the seller under the listing broker. A subagent in Maryland represents the seller and works under the listing broker, assisting with property showings and other duties while maintaining fiduciary responsibilities to the seller. Which document is essential for establishing an agency relationship in Maryland? Is it A, the property listing form, B, the buyer's offer, C, the inspection report, or D, the agency agreement? The answer is D, the agency agreement. The agency agreement is essential in Maryland as it formally establishes the agency relationship, outlining the duties, responsibilities, and compensation for the real estate agent. Fiduciary duties and client representation. Under Maryland agency law, which duty requires an agent to act in the best interest of the client at all times? Is it A, duty of confidentiality, B, duty of loyalty, C, duty of disclosure, or D, duty of obedience? The answer is B, duty of loyalty. The duty of loyalty obligates agents to prioritize the client's interests above their own, ensuring that all actions taken are in the client's best interests. What fiduciary duty obliges a Maryland real estate agent to keep a client's information confidential even after the agency relationship ends? Is it A, duty of confidentiality, B, duty of disclosure, C, duty of loyalty, or D, duty of care? The answer is A, duty of confidentiality. The duty of confidentiality requires agents to protect client information indefinitely, ensuring that sensitive information is not disclosed without consent. In Maryland, which fiduciary duty requires an agent to provide accurate and timely information to their client? Is it A, duty of loyalty, B, duty of confidentiality, C, duty of disclosure, or D, duty of care? The answer is C, duty of disclosure. The duty of disclosure mandates that agents provide all material facts and information to their clients in a timely manner, ensuring informed decision-making. Which fiduciary duty requires Maryland agents to follow all lawful instructions from their clients? Is it A, duty of loyalty, B, duty of disclosure, C, duty of confidentiality, or D, duty of obedience? The answer is D, duty of obedience. The duty of obedience obligates agents to adhere to all lawful instructions given by their clients, ensuring that the client's wishes are respected. Maryland Ethics Guidelines and Enforcement. What is the primary purpose of the Maryland Real Estate Commission's Code of Ethics? Is it A, to increase real estate sales in Maryland, B, to maintain integrity and protect the public interest, C, to regulate commission rates for real estate agents, or D, to provide marketing strategies for real estate agents? The answer is B, to maintain integrity and protect the public interest. The Maryland Real Estate Commission's Code of Ethics is designed to ensure that real estate professionals act in a manner that is honest, fair, and protects the public interest, maintaining the integrity of the profession. Which of the following actions could lead to disciplinary measures under Maryland's Real Estate Ethics Guidelines? Is it A, providing a free home valuation, B, advertising open houses on social media, C, failing to disclose a material fact to a client, or D, negotiating a reduced commission rate? The answer is C, failing to disclose a material fact to a client. Failing to disclose a material fact is a violation of Maryland's Real Estate Ethics Guidelines, as it can mislead clients and affect their decision-making process. Under Maryland Ethics Guidelines, what is a real estate agent required to do when representing multiple parties in a transaction? Is it A, disclose dual agency and obtain written consent, B, ensure a higher commission for themselves, C, represent only one party to avoid conflicts, or D, provide confidential information to all parties? The answer is A, disclose dual agency and obtain written consent. Agents must disclose their dual agency status and obtain written consent from all parties involved to ensure transparency and avoid conflicts of interest. What is the consequence of a Maryland real estate agent failing to comply with the state's ethics guidelines? Is it A, receiving a warning letter, B, mandatory ethics training, C, a temporary increase in commission rates, or D, disciplinary actions such as fines or license suspension? The answer is D, disciplinary actions such as fines or license suspension. Noncompliance with Maryland's ethics guidelines can lead to disciplinary actions such as fines, suspension, or revocation of the real estate license, ensuring adherence to ethical standards. Maryland Property Valuation. Basic principles of property valuation. What is the principle of substitution in property valuation? Is it A, the value of a property is determined by its historical cost, B, A property's value is based on the cost of acquiring an equivalent substitute property. C. Properties are valued based on their potential future income. Or D. The value of a property increases with the increase in demand. The answer is B. A property's value is based on the cost of acquiring an equivalent substitute property. The principle of substitution states that a buyer will not pay more for a property than the cost of acquiring a similar property with equal utility. This is fundamental in property valuation. Which principle of property valuation is associated with the phrase highest and best use? Is it A. Highest and best use, B. Anticipation, C. Contribution, or D. Conformity? The answer is A. Highest and best use. The principle of highest and best use refers to the most profitable legal use of a property that is physically possible and financially feasible, yielding the highest value. How does the principle of conformity impact property valuation? Is it A. It increases the value of unique properties, B. It decreases property values in diverse neighborhoods, C. It maximizes property values when properties are similar to their surroundings, or D. It has no impact on property valuation? The answer is C. It maximizes property values when properties are similar to their surroundings. Conformity suggests that properties achieve maximum value when they are similar to surrounding properties. This principle helps maintain neighborhood stability and predictability in property values. What role does the principle of contribution play in property valuation? Is it A. It determines the property's market value based on location, B. It assesses the future income potential of a property, C. It evaluates the property's historical significance, or D. It measures the value added by a property's component to the overall property value? The answer is D. It measures the value added by a property's component to the overall property value. The principle of contribution states that the value of a component or improvement is measured by its contribution to the overall property value, not its cost. This helps in assessing renovations.
Notice the code in the corner? When you're stumped by a question, enter it at birdsey.ai for immediate help. Enjoy complimentary study sessions and access to hundreds of additional questions to help you pass your exam with confidence.
Sales comparison cost and income approaches. In the sales comparison approach, what is the primary basis for adjusting comparable properties to match the subject property in Maryland? Is it A. Market trends, B. Zoning regulations, C. Property characteristics, or D. Historical significance? The answer is C. Property characteristics. Adjustments in the sales comparison approach are primarily based on differences in characteristics such as location, size, and amenities between the subject and comparable properties. Which of the following is a key component of the cost approach to property valuation in Maryland? Is it A. Replacement cost, B. Income potential, C. Comparable sales, or D. Market capitalization rate? The answer is A. Replacement cost. The cost approach involves estimating the replacement cost of a property minus depreciation plus land value to determine the property's value. How does the income approach determine the value of a rental property in Maryland? Is it A. By assessing replacement cost, B. By capitalizing net operating income, C. By comparing recent sales, or D. By evaluating zoning laws? The answer is B. By capitalizing net operating income. The income approach values a property based on its ability to generate income, using the capitalization rate to convert income into value. What is the primary purpose of adjusting comparable sales in the sales comparison approach? Is it A. To reflect market trends, B. To account for inflation, C. To enhance property appeal, or D. To equalize differences? The answer is D. To equalize differences. Adjustments ensure that comparables reflect the same attributes as the subject property, providing a more accurate value estimate. Maryland financing. Mortgage loans and financing options. Which of the following is a characteristic of a fixed-rate mortgage in Maryland? Is it A. Interest rate varies annually, B. Interest rate remains constant, C. Monthly payments decrease over time, or D. Interest rate is adjusted based on market conditions? The answer is B. Interest rate remains constant. A fixed-rate mortgage maintains the same interest rate throughout the life of the loan, providing consistent monthly payments. This stability is beneficial for budgeting and long-term financial planning. What is the primary benefit of a VA loan for Maryland veterans? Is it A. No down payment required, B. Higher interest rates, C. Mandatory private mortgage insurance, or D. Limited to first-time homebuyers only? The answer is A. No down payment required. VA loans offer eligible veterans the advantage of purchasing a home with no down payment, making it easier to afford homeownership without the need for significant upfront costs. How does an adjustable rate mortgage differ from a fixed-rate mortgage in Maryland? Is it A. It offers a fixed interest rate for the entire loan term, B. It guarantees stable monthly payments, C. It has an interest rate that adjusts over time, or D. It requires a higher down payment than fixed-rate mortgages? The answer is C. It has an interest rate that adjusts over time. Unlike a fixed-rate mortgage, an ARM has an interest rate that can change periodically based on an index, potentially leading to lower initial rates but variable future payments. What is a key feature of an FHA loan that benefits Maryland homebuyers? Is it A. Requires a 20% down payment, B. Allows for a lower down payment, C. Offers adjustable interest rates only, or D. Exclusively for first-time homebuyers? The answer is B. Allows for a lower down payment. FHA loans are popular due to their low down payment requirements, often as low as 3.5%, making them accessible to buyers with limited savings. Loan applications and approval processes. What is the minimum credit score typically required by lenders for a conventional loan approval in Maryland? Is it A. 620, B. 580, C. 700, or D. 650? The answer is A. 620. In Maryland, as in most states, a minimum credit score of 620 is generally required for conventional loan approval. This standard helps lenders mitigate risk by ensuring borrowers have a history of managing credit responsibly. Which document is crucial for verifying a borrower's income during the loan application process in Maryland? Is it A. Credit report, B. Bank statement, C. Tax return, or D. Pay stub? The answer is D. Pay stub. Pay stubs are a critical document for verifying a borrower's income as they provide evidence of regular earnings, which lenders use to assess the borrower's ability to repay the loan. In Maryland, what is the purpose of a loan estimate in the loan application process? Is it A. To finalize the loan terms, B. To assess the borrower's creditworthiness, C. To inform borrowers about loan terms and costs, or D. To secure the interest rate? The answer is C. To inform borrowers about loan terms and costs. The loan estimate provides borrowers with detailed information about the mortgage terms, projected payments, and closing costs. This transparency helps borrowers understand and compare loan offers. What is the typical debt-to-income ratio limit for conventional loan approval in Maryland? Is it A. 36%, B. 43%, C. 50%, or D. 28%. The answer is B, 43%. The standard DTI ratio limit for conventional loans is typically 43%. This ratio helps lenders determine if borrowers have sufficient income to cover their debts and new mortgage payments. Maryland mortgage disclosure requirements. What is the primary purpose of the Maryland mortgage disclosure requirements? Is it A, to increase mortgage approval rates, B, to ensure transparency in mortgage transactions, C, to lower interest rates for first-time homebuyers, or D, to standardize mortgage application forms? The answer is B, to ensure transparency in mortgage transactions. The Maryland mortgage disclosure requirements aim to ensure transparency in mortgage transactions by providing borrowers with necessary information about loan terms, costs, and obligations, thus protecting consumer interests. Which document must lenders provide to borrowers under Maryland's mortgage disclosure requirements? Is it A, loan estimate, B, annual percentage rate statement, C, title insurance policy, or D, home inspection report? The answer is A, loan estimate. Lenders must provide a loan estimate document which outlines the key terms and estimated costs of the mortgage, ensuring that borrowers are fully informed before committing to a loan. When must the closing disclosure be provided to a borrower under Maryland law? Is it A, on the day of closing, B, 1 business day before closing, C, 3 business days before closing, or D, 1 week before closing? The answer is C, 3 business days before closing. The closing disclosure must be provided to the borrower at least 3 business days before closing to allow sufficient time for review and understanding of the final loan terms and costs. What information is not typically included in the Maryland loan estimate? Is it A, loan terms, B, estimated monthly payments, C, closing costs, or D, property tax assessments? The answer is D, property tax assessments. The loan estimate includes loan terms, estimated payments, and closing costs. It does not typically include property tax assessments, which are calculated separately by local authorities. Maryland-specific loan programs. Which Maryland-specific loan program is designed to assist first-time homebuyers with down payment and closing cost assistance? Is it A, Maryland Mortgage Program, B, Maryland Homeowners Tax Credit, C, Maryland Smart Buy, or D, Maryland Renters Tax Credit? The answer is A, Maryland Mortgage Program. The Maryland Mortgage Program provides down payment and closing cost assistance to first-time homebuyers, making homeownership more accessible. It offers competitive interest rates and special loan products tailored to Maryland residents. What is the primary benefit of the Maryland Smart Buy program for eligible homebuyers? Is it A, reduced property taxes, B, student loan payoff assistance, C, lower mortgage interest rates, or D, no closing costs? The answer is B, student loan payoff assistance. The Maryland Smart Buy program helps homebuyers pay off student loans by providing a loan to cover the remaining student debt, facilitating homeownership for those burdened by educational loans. How does the Maryland Home Credit Program benefit homebuyers in terms of tax savings? Is it A, provides a property tax exemption, B, offers a state income tax deduction, C, gives a federal tax credit on mortgage interest, or D, reduces closing costs? The answer is C, gives a federal tax credit on mortgage interest. The Maryland Home Credit Program provides a federal tax credit on mortgage interest paid, allowing homebuyers to claim a significant portion of their mortgage interest as a tax credit, thus reducing their annual tax liability. Which Maryland-specific loan program is tailored to help veterans purchase homes with favorable terms? Is it A, Maryland Mortgage Program, B. Maryland Smart Buy, C. Maryland Renters Tax Credit, or D. Maryland Homefront? The answer is D. Maryland Homefront. The Maryland Homefront program offers veterans special mortgage terms, including reduced interest rates and down payment assistance, to support their transition to homeownership. Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Which program administered by the DHCD is specifically designed to assist first-time homebuyers in Maryland? Is it A. Maryland Rental Program, B. Maryland Mortgage Program, C. Maryland Housing Trust, or D. Maryland Housing Choice Voucher Program? The answer is B. Maryland Mortgage Program. The Maryland Mortgage Program offers financial assistance to first-time homebuyers, including down payment and closing cost help. This initiative aims to make homeownership more accessible in Maryland. What is the primary goal of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development's Community Development Administration? Is it A. Regulating real estate agents, B. Providing legal advice for tenants, C. Financing affordable housing projects, or D. Managing state parks and recreation? The answer is C. Financing affordable housing projects. The CDA focuses on financing affordable housing and community revitalization projects, aiming to improve living standards and economic opportunities in Maryland's communities. How does the DHCD assist homeowners facing foreclosure in Maryland? Is it A. Foreclosure prevention counseling, B. Offering free legal representation, C. Reducing property taxes, or D. Providing new home loans? The answer is A. Foreclosure prevention counseling. The DHCD provides foreclosure prevention counseling and financial assistance to help homeowners manage their mortgage obligations and avoid losing their homes. What role does the Maryland Housing Fund play within the DHCD? Is it A. Directly financing new construction, B. Providing mortgage insurance, C. Subsidizing rental payments, or D. Offering tax credits to developers? The answer is B. Providing mortgage insurance. The Maryland Housing Fund provides mortgage insurance for loans, which helps lenders offer more favorable terms to borrowers by reducing the risk associated with lending. Maryland disclosure requirements and forms. Maryland-specific disclosure requirements. In Maryland, what must a seller disclose about a property's septic system? Is it A. The previous owner's maintenance records, B. The installation date of the septic system, C. The type, location, and condition of the septic system, or D. The cost of recent repairs to the septic system? The answer is C. The type, location, and condition of the septic system. Maryland law requires sellers to disclose the type, location, and condition of the septic system. This helps buyers understand potential maintenance needs or issues related to the property's waste management system. What is the purpose of the Maryland Residential Property Condition Disclosure Statement? Is it A. To list recent renovations, B. To disclose known property defects, C. To estimate property value, or D. To outline neighborhood amenities? The answer is B. To disclose known property defects. This statement ensures sellers disclose known defects and conditions of the property, promoting informed decisions by buyers and compliance with Maryland law. In Maryland, which disclosure is mandatory for properties built before 1978? Is it A. Lead-based paint disclosure, B. Mold disclosure, C. Flood zone disclosure, or D. Radon gas disclosure? The answer is A. Lead-based paint disclosure. The lead-based paint disclosure is required for properties built before 1978 to inform buyers of potential lead hazards, ensuring health and safety compliance. What is required by Maryland law when a seller does not provide a residential property disclosure statement? Is it A, a home inspection report, B, a detailed list of repairs, C, an appraisal report, or D, a disclaimer statement? The answer is D, a disclaimer statement. If a seller opts not to provide a disclosure statement, Maryland law requires them to provide a disclaimer statement, indicating they are unaware of any defects. Commonly used Maryland forms. Which form is commonly used in Maryland to disclose the condition of a property to potential buyers? Is it A, Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement, B, Maryland Lead Paint Disclosure Form, C, Maryland Buyer Agency Agreement, or D, Maryland Financing Addendum? The answer is A, Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement. The Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement is a mandatory form that sellers must provide to disclose known defects and conditions of the property to prospective buyers. What is the purpose of the Maryland Lead Paint Disclosure Form? Is it A, to disclose the presence of asbestos in the property, B, to outline the financing terms of the sale, C, to inform about lead-based paint hazards in properties built before 1978, or D, to provide a general overview of the property's condition? The answer is C, to inform about lead-based paint hazards in properties built before 1978. The Maryland Lead Paint Disclosure Form is used to inform buyers or tenants about the presence of lead-based paint in properties built before 1978, ensuring compliance with federal and state regulations. Which document is used to establish a formal relationship between a buyer and their real estate agent in Maryland? Is it A, Maryland Residential Contract of Sale, B, Maryland Buyer Agency Agreement, C, Maryland Rental Lease Agreement, or D, Maryland Property Condition Addendum? The answer is B, Maryland Buyer Agency Agreement. The Maryland Buyer Agency Agreement formalizes the relationship between a buyer and their real estate agent, outlining the duties and obligations of both parties during the home buying process. What information does the Maryland Financing Addendum provide in a real estate transaction? Is it A, details about the property's zoning restrictions, B, information about potential environmental hazards, C, the responsibilities of the real estate agent, or D, terms and conditions of the buyer's financing? The answer is D, terms and conditions of the buyer's financing. The Maryland Financing Addendum outlines the terms and conditions related to the buyer's financing, including loan type, interest rate, and deadlines for securing financing, ensuring clarity in financial arrangements. Specific procedures for transactions. What is the primary purpose of the Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement? Is it A, to provide a warranty for the property's condition, B, to inform buyers about known defects or lack thereof, C, to evaluate the market value of the property, or D, to establish the legal ownership of the property? The answer is B, to inform buyers about known defects or lack thereof. The Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement is designed to ensure that buyers are informed about the condition of the property. It requires sellers to disclose known material defects or disclaim any knowledge of such defects. When must the Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement be provided to the buyer? Is it A, before the contract of sale is signed, B, at the time of closing, C, within 10 days after the contract is signed, or D, only if requested by the buyer? The answer is A, before the contract of sale is signed. The disclosure statement must be provided to the buyer before the contract of sale is signed to ensure the buyer is fully informed about the property's condition and can make an educated purchase decision. Which of the following transactions is exempt from the Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement requirement? Is it A, a sale through a real estate agent, B, a transfer to a corporation, C, a new home sale by a builder, or D, a transfer between co-owners? The answer is D, a transfer between co-owners. Transfers that are exempt include those between co-owners by court order or to a government entity. These exceptions are outlined in Maryland's real estate disclosure laws. What action should a buyer take if they receive the Maryland Residential Property Disclosure and Disclaimer Statement after signing the contract? Is it A, ignore the statement as it is no longer applicable, B, request a reduction in the purchase price, C, rescind the contract within 5 days, or D, file a complaint with the Maryland Real Estate Commission? The answer is C, rescind the contract within 5 days. If the disclosure statement is provided after contract signing, the buyer has the right to rescind the contract within 5 days of receiving the statement, as per Maryland law.
Thanks for joining us today. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to our channel for more practice exams, tips, and tricks. And don't forget to visit birdsey.ai for complimentary study sessions with Birdsey, your AI-powered study partner.